Welcome back to the channel, everyone. You know, as we go about our daily lives, scrolling through memes and stressing over deadlines, it's easy to forget that we're living through history in the making. But today, we're taking a break from the ordinary to explore some of history's weirdest moments. Moments so outrageous, you might think they're straight out of a Monty Python sketch. But trust me, these stories are 100% real, and they're going to make you question everything you thought you knew about the past. From strange inventions to unbelievable events, these historical oddities not only boggle the mind, but also remind us just how wild and unpredictable our world can be. So buckle up, grab your thinking cap, and get ready for a wild ride through some of the most bizarre moments in human history. All right, let's kick things off with a bang, literally. Imagine, if you will, the year is 1958. The Cold War is in full swing. Tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union are reaching a fever pitch. Both superpowers are locked in a race to demonstrate their technological superiority, and in this particular chapter of history, that involved some seriously outlandish ideas. Enter Project A119, a top-secret plan hatched by the US Air Force to detonate a nuclear bomb. Wait for it, on the moon. You see, the idea was that a nuclear explosion on the lunar surface would be visible from Earth, serving as a dazzling and utterly terrifying display of American might. Can you imagine the headlines? The sheer audacity of it all. It sounds like something out of a science fiction B-movie, but this was a real proposal, drafted by actual scientists and military strategists. Leading the charge was a young physicist by the name of Carl Sagan, who, ironically, would later become a vocal advocate for peace and nuclear disarmament. Now, before you start picturing a mushroom cloud over the Sea of Tranquility, I should mention that Project A119 never actually came to fruition. The plan was ultimately scrapped due to concerns about radioactive fallout. Makes sense, right? And the potential for sparking, well, an interplanetary conflict. But the fact that it was even considered in the first place speaks volumes about the paranoia and one-upmanship that defined the Cold War era. It makes you wonder what other wild schemes were cooked up in top-secret bunkers during those tense times. And here's a thought to ponder. If the US had actually gone through with Project A119, how do you think it would have changed the course of history? Would it have intimidated the Soviets, or would it have sparked a new arms race in space? It's a chilling thought experiment, and a stark reminder of the power and potential consequences of human ingenuity. From the vast reaches of space, we now journey to the sun-baked plains of Western Australia, where our next tale of historical weirdness unfolds. In 1932, Australia found itself embroiled in a conflict unlike any other, a war against emus. Yes, you heard that right. Emus, those large, flightless birds that look like they're perpetually judging your life choices. Now, before you picture soldiers locked in hand-to-beat combat with these feathered foes, let me set the scene. After World War I, many veterans returned to Australia and took up farming, only to find their crops being decimated by hordes of hungry emus. These birds, you see, had developed a taste for wheat and a knack for outsmarting humans. The farmers, at their wits' end, appealed to the government for help, and the government, in all its wisdom, decided to deploy the army. Armed with Lewis machine guns, a squad of soldiers was dispatched to deal with the emu menace. You can almost imagine the generals planning this operation, strategizing over maps with little emu figurines, completely convinced that military might would make short work of these avian adversaries. But the emus, it turned out, were not easily intimidated. These feathered fiends were masters of guerrilla warfare, scattering and regrouping faster than the soldiers could say fire. The machine guns, meant for trench warfare, proved woefully inadequate against the emus' unpredictable movements. Newspaper reports from the time paint a hilarious picture of soldiers chasing after emus, their guns blazing, only to be completely outmaneuvered by these feathered speedsters. The Great Emu War, as it came to be known, lasted for several weeks and resulted in, well, a resounding victory for the emus. The soldiers, defeated and demoralized, retreated, having inflicted minimal casualties on their avian adversaries. The emus, meanwhile, continued their reign of terror over the Australian countryside. Their victory a testament to the fact that sometimes nature finds a way, even if that way involves outwitting the Australian army. The Great Emu War serves as a reminder that history is full of surprises, and that even the most well-equipped armies can be outsmarted by, well, flightless birds. It's a story that's both hilarious and humbling, reminding us not to underestimate the power of nature, and perhaps to choose our battles a little more carefully. Chapter 3. The Dancing Plague of 1518, when Strasbourg couldn't stop grooving. For our next stop on this whirlwind tour of historical weirdness, we're traveling to 16th century Strasbourg, France. Picture this: cobblestone streets, bustling marketplaces, and people dancing uncontrollably in the streets. No, it's not a Renaissance flash mob. It's the dancing plague of 1518. It all began in July of that year, when a woman named Frau Trophäa stepped out of her house and began to dance. And dance. And dance. She didn't stop for days. Soon, others joined her, their bodies seemingly possessed by an unstoppable urge to move. Within weeks, hundreds of people were caught in this bizarre frenzy, their feet pounding the pavement day and night. Imagine the scene: a sea of sweating, exhausted bodies, their faces contorted in a mix of ecstasy and agony, their feet blistered and bleeding, yet unable to resist the irresistible urge to keep dancing. Physicians were baffled. Theories abounded, ranging from demonic possession to hot blood to, I kid you not, poisoned bread. But no one could explain the cause of this mass dancing mania. What's even stranger is that the dancing wasn't some organized affair. It was chaotic, frenzied, with people seemingly losing themselves in the rhythm. Some even danced themselves to death from exhaustion, heart attacks, or strokes. The authorities, desperate to stop the madness, tried everything from hiring musicians to play calming melodies, to bringing in exorcists to drive out the supposed evil spirits. But nothing worked. The dancing plague continued for weeks, finally subsiding as mysteriously as it had begun, leaving behind a trail of bewildered onlookers and a whole lot of unanswered questions. To this day, the dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most baffling medical mysteries. Was it mass hysteria? A strange form of epilepsy? A bizarre social phenomenon? We may never know for sure, but one thing's for certain. It's a stark reminder that the human body, for all its complexity, is still capable of some pretty strange and inexplicable things. And it makes you wonder, what other bizarre phenomena are lurking in the annals of history, just waiting to be rediscovered? Chapter 4. The War of the Whiskers, when facial hair sparked a borderline brawl. Alright, let's be honest, we all know that fashion trends can be a little out there sometimes. But did you know that in 1860, a disagreement over facial hair sparked a full-blown rivalry between two towns in the United States? Buckle up, folks, because this is the story of the War of the Whiskers. Our tale takes place in the wild, untamed territories of Ohio and Kentucky. Yes, you heard that right. It all started with a friendly enough wager between two men, one from each state, boasting about who could grow the most impressive whiskers. Think of it as the 19th century equivalent of a beard-growing competition, but with significantly higher stakes. Word of this epic facial hair showdown spread like wildfire, and soon the entire population of both towns was invested. It became a matter of regional pride, a battle for bragging rights over who had the most follicularly gifted citizens. The competition escalated from friendly banter to full-blown trash talk, with each town accusing the other of cheating, sabotage, and, I'm not making this up, whisker envy. Newspapers fanned the flames, publishing satirical articles and cartoons that poked fun at the warring factions. The rivalry reached its peak when a group of young men from one town, feeling their whiskers were being disrespected, crossed the border and engaged in a spirited debate with their rivals. Now, I know what you're thinking. A war fought over facial hair? Really? But think about it. The War of the Whiskers, while undoubtedly absurd, reflects a very human tendency to get caught up in competition, even when the stakes are utterly ridiculous. It's a reminder that sometimes the things we choose to fight over say more about us than the actual object of the dispute. And hey, At least nobody got hurt, unless you count a few bruised egos and maybe a stray whisker or two. So the next time you find yourself getting worked up over something trivial, remember the War of the Whiskers. Take a deep breath, maybe stroke your real or imaginary beard, and remember that life's too short to get your whiskers in a twist over the little things. So there you have it. From the Great Emu War to the Dancing Plague and the War of the Whiskers, history is packed with some seriously weird moments that are undeniably true. These stories remind us that our past is filled with strange happenings that defy logic and reason, proving that truth can be stranger than fiction. Now it's your turn. What's your favorite weird historical fact? Drop it in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for future topics we should explore, let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more mind-blowing content. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious. These stories might seem like ancient history, but in a world where misinformation runs rampant and AI can generate fake news articles with the click of a button, it's more important than ever to develop our critical thinking skills and question what we see and hear. So the next time you stumble across a bizarre headline or an unbelievable story, remember the Great Emu War, the Dancing Plague, and the War of the Whiskers. Because sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction.